Thank you so much for coming.
Oh, glad to be here.
Joy to meet you in person. Has Hollywood come knocking yet, is my first question.
Not quite, have they?
Oh.
Oh, this just begs to be a movie, but what a thorough, open heart, every detail story. You hold nothing back, Larissa. But let's start with how you two met. Let's get the love story launched.
We met in college, and
Both communications majors.
yes.
Very
Yeah, that's
interesting.
actually how we met, working on a campus TV station. And we just got to know each other as friends. And at first, I didn't have any romantic interest in Ian. And Ian, I think you were trying to figure out if you had any romantic interest in me. And just the more time we spent together, we just had so much fun and just started talking about whether or not we wanted to date.
You had 10 months of that getting to know each other before September 30th. What happened that day?
That morning, Ian was driving to work for his dad's company, and I was at a wedding shower, and we got a phone call at the shower from his dad telling us that Ian had been in a car accident on his way to work, and he was in a station wagon that actually went underneath an SUV, and that he was in emergency surgery.
Jaws of life got him out of there first of all, didn't it?
Yep. And we didn't know what type of surgery, and we live about an hour and a half from the hospital, so that was the longest car ride ever. It was me and his parents, Mary and Steve, and we didn't know until we got to the hospital that he was in emergency brain surgery, and that naturally was, I think, the worst of all of our fears, that it would be his brain.
You were planning a funeral, Larissa.
Yeah, at one point the neurosurgeon came in and told us that Ian was failing 4 out of 5 brain activity tests. And so
Not much hope there.
the next morning the family met, and his parents met with a social worker, and we needed to decide whether we would keep him on life support or remove it and start talking about a funeral. And it was all very surreal. And at the time, Ian was 21, so he was so young.
Well, I have to condense. You'll want to read the book, but I know that 9 weeks after the accident, Ian, you were wearing your own clothes and beginning to respond.
Yeah, that was a huge moment. Even something as small as being able to wear your own sweatpants and t-shirt instead of a hospital gown was huge. And it was so fun just to be able to wash Ian's laundry again. Just those things that are so normal, and they kind of put you back into normal life, even in a very small way. It was wonderful.
You say in the book, Larissa, it's good to have hopes as long as we build the foundation correctly. You made a decision to move forward with plans to marry, even though the picture was very changed.
Yeah, it was really challenging just before we really knew the outcome and if Ian would even get the ability to speak back. It took him 2.5 years after the accident before he began to speak. And so I didn't want to give up hope that God could heal Ian to the point where marriage was an option. But I also knew that my foundation had to be God, and that God had a perfect plan for us, and my hope couldn't be in a certain outcome. And that was a constant needing to reposition my heart and kind of double check myself that my hope was that God is sovereign and faithful and good no matter what, whether Ian and I were able to get married or not.
Did parents, friends challenge you both about your foundation, about whether this was wise?
We had a lot of hard conversations with the people that love us because they wanted to make sure that, by the time we were close to getting engaged, our story had gained some awareness in the public. And so we had people who loved us making sure that we didn't feel pressured to get married or under compulsion of any sort, but that it was what we wanted. And Ian, you had a lot of conversations with your dad, and your dad asked you lots of good questions, our pastors, and just making sure that we didn't feel like we had to, that we knew we had an option.
You've already hinted at some of the reasons for the title of the book. It's really threefold, 828. Tell us what that represents.
828 is somebody's birthday. You remember? His dad's birthday, and also our wedding date, and one of the most helpful scriptures to us, which has been Romans 8:28, and it's a passage that Ian's dad really used a lot in conversation with us to just keep fixing his family's focus onto God's goodness for us and toward us.
It's a big picture focuser, isn't it? Well, let's go to that wedding day.
Okay.
I've read about it. Can you believe I have not seen it? I'm going to be watching it with some of our viewers for the first time. So let's go to Ian and Larissa's wedding.
Much as you, Ian, and you, Larissa. Wait a minute. You'll get to do this. I gotta start over. For as much as you, Ian, and you, Larissa, have openly declared your wishes to be united in marriage, and in the presence of God and before these witnesses, I, as a minister of the gospel, pronounce that you are now husband and wife. Those whom God has joined together, let no man separate. Okay, Ian, you may now kiss the bride.
Oh, delight. What a delight. You say in the book, Larissa, below the messiness of loss was the permanence of the gift and the giver. What did you mean, the gift?
Through all of this, we have Jesus. And Ian and I, before Ian's accident, we knew that he was saved. And we knew that God was for you, Ian. And so we had this gift of knowing that we had heaven to look forward to, and that no matter what was happening in our lives, that could never be taken. And that we knew we had that hope, and we had God with us as well. And so even through, the very difficult days, we knew what was ahead of us ultimately, and that just provides so much peace, even when things here just seem messy and out of control.
Thank you so much for making the trip.
Thank you for having us.